Hello and welcome to today's edition of Wise Women Weekdays. I'm Claire, the Oily Witch.
And I'm Leanne, and I am a life and wellbeing coach, but I specialize in somatic practices, and that's what today is all about.
Absolutely. I said to Leanne, I don't know anything about this and I want to know more about this. So can I interview you? And here we are, interviewing it. So you too can understand more about what this actually entails and how to do it. So, Leanne, do you want to start with a definition?
So, of somatic, I like
Yeah.
somatic practice. So, somatic practice, basically, it means an embodied practice. So, it's where the whole of you is involved. So the conscious mind and the subconscious, basically, because the subconscious body and the subconscious mind, it's the same thing. So it's a way of really getting underneath the layers. So, for example, it's really beneficial if we're trying to change habits, if we are looking at old traumas that we want to release, living fully, being present.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I'm particularly attracted to the trauma stuff. So
Mhm.
tell me, give me an example of how that could work.
Well, like for example, if we, that there's a with talking things through and understanding things, that's a massive part of the puzzle. But it's not the whole thing,
No,
and everyone knows you can understand something till the cows come home. It doesn't necessarily mean that
you can
it's
shift it.
over.
Yeah,
You know, you can understand that you're in a habit that's not serving you. You're in a self-destructive pattern, but it is helpful and it's a helpful step. However, if you really haven't got the whole of you on board and you're not getting to the root of it, which is the feeling basically,
yeah,
because no matter how much you tell yourself, oh, I'm being silly, this is in the past, it's over, your body, we're like living history books. So your body is remembering that as it was. And its job really is to keep you safe. So the subconscious will keep you on an old program that will keep you safe. And 95% of us are on, not of us, of our being is
is
on
subconscious.
automatic
Yeah,
pilot. So
subconscious rules the day. But how, okay, so I get that. I get what you're saying it is, but how do you do it?
so basically practices such as yoga, breath work, qigong, all the ancient practices, the reason that they're all done fully present with that chance to wipe the slate clean, and the reason that mindfulness is so key in it, is that's how we're operating on really working with the subconscious as well. There are also other methods such as EMDR, which is
Hmm.
more and more well known now, and EFT tapping, which
Yeah,
I know more about as part of what I practice.
yeah,
And that has, I mean, in a nutshell, the way it works is when you're tapping on particular points in your body, you are activating, you're working with the meridian system,
yeah,
which works with the organs, which work with every emotion.
yes,
So each one is linked to a different emotion. And again, this is how, our bodies are so intricate, they're so clever. And when you begin to address by tapping, what you're actually doing is um, the amygdala, which starts firing whenever there's a stress response, whenever there's something that's going to hold you in a habit,
yeah,
the amygdala will be really active.
right,
Now, when we tap on these points, what happens is it starts to reduce the amount of activity in the amygdala.
yes.
So, the
Whilst
beauty
you're
of,
having that thought, isn't it?
yes,
Because I've had it done. Yeah,
yeah,
whilst you're
yeah,
having that thought, so so that is that what you mean about consciousness? Is you hold the thought in your mind
mm,
that you want, or you say it out loud that you
mm,
want to get rid of. So that's your consciousness,
yeah,
whilst you tap,
yeah.
so that you're getting rid of it. So that is an example of somatic practice.
Yeah, yeah, and actually it works in layers. So, for example, so but basically, as you're tapping on something, so say it's I'm afraid of spiders. We'll go with something really simple.
Mm-hmm.
As you're tapping on that and you're saying, I'm really frightened of spiders, when that happens, you know, my heart rate goes up, I see it, you know, I can, and this is one of mine that I tapped on. I could always hear the music of da 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 when I saw one. And so just being with that and tapping and saying, this is how I feel, this is what happens. And then allowing your body to see it, you know, just like, you know, just like we shun us, we push ourselves aside often with our fears because we're afraid of the feeling. And often it's the resistance to the feeling that really is the worst part and then keeps us in that
loop
practice of keeping it. Is we are what we practice, basically. So then, you know, for example, every time you see a spider, the same response happens, same thing happens, and then that belief gets stronger and that way of being gets stronger. So when you're doing, in this case, somatic works as a pattern interrupter. So as you're with that thing, you're interrupting the pattern. So as you reduce the amount of activity in the amygdala, you're giving your body the message, this isn't a trauma. This isn't something that the fight or flight is going to serve me in any way. And you've had it, obviously. So
yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
So you can then start to reduce the charge. So, you know, when you first start, sometimes people get worse
before they get better,
as they really start to
really live it,
remember it.
Yeah.
And then you find that the charge starts to come out, and then you acknowledge that there's a change. So basically you tap where you are, and that's what I love about it. It isn't about you know, thinking positive, moving through something, fighting anything. You're just going, do you know what? Just like if your child came to you with a problem, you're not going to say, oh, go away, don't be so silly. Are you? Have you never? I've never done
that. No. Well, yeah, depending what the problem is. Yeah, absolutely. And depending what I'm doing. And yeah.
But for example, you probably have more compassion for
yeah, completely
your child. Whereas ourselves, we often will just go, but the moment you go, all right, let's have a look at this. And I can look after myself as I do it. And I can really help my body accept it. And I really do recommend at this point as well, if is anything, you know, that you start to feel too overwhelmed with, if you're working with something big, then please work with a practitioner. Although tapping is available for everyone because it's really, really simple. And in fact, I can put a link below just to the very basics of tapping if you want to get more of an understanding.
That would be
of it as well.
Great. Do it on when we post it on the YouTube channel. Then we'll Lianne, you can send that to me and I'll put it on.
Because I mean, I've used it. I use it, you know, if I need to get to sleep. I've used it if just to also tap in feelings that I want to hold in my habit field. So when you're feeling good, and what I love about the end of each session, I always end up with a positive. So it's just like once we've reduced it, then it's like, okay, what do you want to hold in your body?
That was a lovely expression.
What?
Hold it in your habit field, like encode something positive into your habit field. So are you largely talking about EFT?
I am now, but then if you look, like habit field really comes from energy medicine, which is we have a habit field. Energy gets into habits. So, you know, just as we can get into habits emotionally, we get into habits of being tired or having allergies to things. And the more that you work with your energy, the more that you can really shift things at a deeper level, because everything shows up in your energy first before it shows up in your physical body. So like EFT,
always get these when we say something really poignant. It's in my system. It's spirit stepping forward. No, spirit does this on all of my Zoom calls when I say something poignant or something a good message to get out there is said, and sometimes I get fireworks when I've said something particularly helpful to a client, and they're like, like you need to really take that message on board.
Okay.
So interesting, Lianne. So carry on.
So what I was going to say as well, because we went into EFT, which is one of the great tools of starting somewhere that you don't want to be and shifting forward. However, with the ancient practices of yoga, of meditation, qigong, energy medicine, what you're doing is you're starting the day by wiping the slate clean.
So how do you do that?
By doing a practice where you're present, where you're breathing deeply, where you're not starting your day, and ideally, you may be someone who likes to practice in the evening, that's fine.
But no, I do actually do my practice every morning.
In the morning, yeah. So it's a great way of not living today like it's yesterday, because often we get out of bed, we're having the same thoughts, we're doing the same thing, and the moment just to go, okay, just coming back, being in this moment, being with yourself, allowing yourself to connect as well, because we're not alone. And this is a time where you can connect with your guides, where you can get fully grounded. And over time, and if you've got a regular practice, you'll probably recognize this, you can often, the way I see it is like you get these subtle changes that are fully, when it's fully in your subconscious, and your subconscious is supporting you, you often look back and go, oh, yeah, I didn't get jealous then, or I didn't get angry, or I didn't get ill in January like I always expect to. And it's subtle. Like for me as a coach, when people get exhilarated with change, for me, I'm never sure whether it's really set in, because we often have this, oh, I did this workshop and it was amazing. And, and then we find that the old habits like come back, or you get that sudden slump. But this is my experience and experience of lots of feedback over the years, is that when it's slow and quiet and subtle, it's really in you, and you don't actually often get that feeling of, wow, everything's changed, I've changed. Does that make sense? Because
it does. And what I can't help wonder about that is I would imagine that it's dependent on your elementals, like on like what your makeup is. So if you're more earthy, then it's certainly going to be something that takes a long, slow time to gently come in. But if you're fire, then you're going to be more capable of changing much quicker. So I think it's like one of those things, like it's going to be different for everybody, but everybody's going to have their own unique signature around how their change comes about, as they'll get their own unique messages about the changes happened.
And that is really important, because there's no absolutes.
Yeah.
And like, for example, with a fire energy, fire's out of balance is panic and can be overexcitable. Whereas when they're in balance, it's a joyful feeling. So for me, if I'm working with somebody as a fire, it's like joy, there's a sense of contentment, and it's deeper than a kind of it's almost, so that's really what I'm saying. So thanks for that's a better explanation, that you'll feel it in different ways, but depending on your element, there's always the yin and the yang, and when that's in balance and you're in balance, which is what a practice does, then you're moving towards sustainable change that will stay with you. So and that's how, like, the somatic practices for me, if, like, for example, if you want to change something, or you want to upgrade your way of being, practicing every morning. So at the end of your practice, what's the best version of me today? What can I tap in? So even, forget the first bit of going, I don't want to be like this, or I am whatever. Just go to, I want to feel love. I want to feel joy.
Let's go through the tapping
All
points.
right,
So we can
let's do
teach
it.
people some tapping points
Okay,
here.
so very simply, let's do it in the corner of the eyebrows there,
Here.
outside of the eyes, underneath the eyes, underneath the nose,
Does it
underneath the
matter which
mouth.
hand you do underneath the nose?
No,
Left-handed
no,
or right-handed?
doesn't matter. And then the K27, which are they're just where the collarbone finishes, that knobbly bit, and you come down and out. I'll just show you. Just here.
Oh yeah.
And if you tap around there, you're going to get it.
You're gonna get it.
And then at the side of your body, and actually we'll leave and do the top of the head. I often do some on the lower body, but that's enough for this, okay? And let's just keep repeating.
So you start off, you're telling me you start off with the kind of the feelings you don't want to feel that you're going to allow yourself to feel.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling, would you say them? I'm feeling really anxious about spiders, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so something
You'd
like
bring
that.
it up, or I'm really feeling jealous about blah blah, or I'm feeling less than worthy. So you just keep on doing that.
Yeah. So I would say at the moment, don't go anywhere like that just now. Just learn the point.
I've gone in deep.
I've only got half an hour, love.
I know. I'm just thinking, no, but those aren't my things, you cheeky thing. But I was thinking you do that first, and then you come with the positive. It's like once. How many rounds do you do?
What you would do if we're going to go through the whole of this, let's just keep tapping, because the beauty of it is when you finish tapping, you'll always feel calmer, uplifted. Okay. So as I'll explain as we tap, because that's a great way to kind of shift your energy.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're going to work on a problem, so for example, the spider, and what's really good on a scale of 0 to 10, if 10 being really terrified, 0 being I'm fine, you would give yourself a scale. So say, you start off as a 7 and you just say, I've got this real fear. I just hear that music every time I see it. It's horrible. My heart goes. What I encourage people to do is explain what's going on in your body, explain the feeling. I feel it in my solar plexus and it's tight, it's heavy, it might have a color, a shape. So basically what you're doing is you're really shining a light on it and saying, I see you, I hear you. Come on, let's have a look at this. And at the same time, you're doing something that's helping your body to calm down. Now, after a little while, so just stop a moment and just take a break, you'll just stop and have a little tune in. How are you feeling? Now, sorry, go on. Calm, okay. If at this point you're starting to feel overwhelmed, that's when I'd say, maybe get some help with this if it's something that that's new to you as well, to working on your own with it. However, if you're starting to go down the scale, go back and say, okay, so I've calmed down a bit. I still have it a little bit.
You still recognize it, but you're being totally honest about your emotions and being able to voice your emotions as well. So let's think about like sleep, because I know a lot of people have problems with sleep, and you said you're using it with sleep. So
I've got a sleep workshop tomorrow, actually.
Do you want to say some more about, tell people how to do sleep and then talk about what you do on a workshop?
Well, so actually we will do a tap on the workshop, because one of the things that stops people sleeping, one of the things, there are different aspects to look at, but our expectations. So for example, you get really good at telling your story around sleep. Oh, I'm a terrible sleeper. I never sleep on the full moon. I've never been, all blah, 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 all the things that are not helpful. So you can start there by just saying, I'm just a really bad sleeper. I get really stressed. And what I say to people, imagine you've just picked up the phone to a friend. Oops, missed them. And you're just telling them, oh, I've just had a really rough night again. I'm so frustrated. I just never get to sleep. I'm getting out. Just spill it all out. But have a deal with yourself. If ever you have a rant from now on about anything, tap and rant. Okay, so then it's really, and I'll show you a few other ways you can do it more subtly in a moment.
Yeah, sitting there in the train or something like that.
I mean, I
This
just
is good though.
yeah. So and this is again, we are talking about somatic practice. There's a lots of different ways. Maybe we can do a few of these on
Yeah, yeah,
different
we'll do EFT
modalities.
now, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
do another
Let's
one.
do that. Anyway, so then you'll get to a point. So you again, you just tune in and you just get to that. Can you bring in the possibility that you can let go of this?
Would you choose, like, if you go from being like I'm a anxious sleeper or I struggle to get to sleep, would you then, by when you say let go, could you exchange that for I'm I find sleep with ease? Is that what you mean by letting go?
Yeah, but you want to be telling the truth. So what I love about this is you're constantly checking in on where am I with this? How do I feel about it? So, for example, I mean, sleep in some ways is a little bit more complicated because often something else will come up and then we work beneath the layers. And the beauty of when your body starts to feel safe, which is what is happening when you start to feel calm, you often have those realizations bubble up that you won't let yourself hear. And that's the beauty of a practice as well.
Yes.
So often in your
creating the
meditation,
space.
you might suddenly bubble up with, well, actually, I'm not very happy in my job, or I'm not. But there's an honesty that can come.
Yes.
And what is important to remember as well, that just because you've had a realization, it doesn't mean you have to go straight into action. You know, be with that. Use tapping or use your practice to then come up with solutions, play around with things. If you then have a fear of, well, I can't face that because I can't leave my job now because this is, then you can tap on those fears. So there's always ways. And for me, the rule of somatics is, or not the rule, the
guidance.
The
guidance.
Yeah, the guidance. It's like, don't be kind to yourself. Because we're not using willpower. We use discipline. There is discipline in going, I am going to turn up for my practice every day. I am going to go and tap on this because I feel really uncomfortable. And that's what I was trying to say before with willpower. Sometimes with willpower, we can bust through something, but chances are you're going to snap back because that's the way our habit feels work, that you make a big change and then there's that part of you goes, hang on, let's not do this. We did this yesterday. We survived. We might not be very happy, but survival will always take first place. And when you're working with somatics, you're talking to that survival part of you and saying, this is safe. It's safe to do this.
So interesting.
That makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense. I'm still trying to get to the positive bit. Like, like you've gone through this, you've kind of like, is it important? I'm just talking in terms of EFT, to follow up once you've gone through all the emotions and stuff like that, to follow up with some positives before you close down.
Some people don't, and again, this is the way I work. I like to take it right through to the end. And if you're at a point where you can't quite let go, you can at least finish on going, okay, so I do still, let's go back to spiders. I do still have this fear of spiders, but it has reduced.
So is about being honest. It's about kind of, recognizing the step that you've taken. I'm just trying to think how to explain it to people. So it's about that.
So I would say the steps are, start where you are, being honest. This is how I'm feeling. Then as you reduce the charge, acknowledge the fact that you've done that and start to introduce possibilities. So I do have this fear of spiders and it's possible for me to let go of this.
Ah, I thought you meant possible might land up being I can hold a spider.
If you really want to jump that.
No, I am okay. I don't like spiders, but I can hold one now. Okay, so it might be that yours is much subtler, so it's kind of like that. I might be able to let go some of this. I'm open to change. Okay.
And then if you get it down to, and actually, again, there are no absolutes. Like we said, everybody's going to respond differently. What I found sometimes, if I'm with someone who's just getting stuck and stuck and stuck, we'll go, do you know what? Let's just do a positive on this. And we go, I feel really calm in my body. I feel really courageous when I look at,
I'm
and we
going to do
do
that.
that, and often that will do it. I feel courageous and happy and vibrant and
and
healthy
joyful
and
and
yeah,
ready for
yeah.
2024.
And this is a great way to finish your practice every day.
To end on a positive. Yeah, I just find
Tap
it.
it in. What
Tap
do you want to
it
hold?
in.
What do you want to hold in
I
the
have to put these
body?
back on again, otherwise we're a blur. Um, tapping in glasses, not necessarily compatible. That's so interesting. So let's recap. So what I have learned, and hopefully you have learned, is the fact that somatic practice can be a number of different practices, like yogic, but they're embodied practices where you bring all your consciousness, your subconscious and your conscious, to the party.
Yeah.
So it's like when I say in circle, asking people to bring all parts of themselves back from wherever they may be scattered to this here now moment.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying, come here, or giving guided meditations, come here, be present, allowing all of this to flow. So it's the same principles. Yes, it's so, I mean, I'm glad because it sounds like I'm kind of doing it because every morning I get up and I do stretching exercise, I call in the elements, I kind of, bring myself into kind of alignment and encode what my intentions are or support for the rest of the day. So that's good. And also moving negative sleep energies. I also actually from different dimensions to move, but it's like putting that some consciousness around that, you know.
And you're being clear because your energy goes where your attention goes. And actually, even having said that, when we get present and we've got the conscious and the subconscious aligned, that's when your mind and body are saying the same thing. So that feeling of you don't need to feel angry right now, but you do. You don't need to feel jealous, but you do. You don't need to,
but you could tap it,
be upset. So that's out of alignment. That all that's saying is you've got your conscious what you'd like, but actually that's not running the show. There's a subconscious going, but you don't deserve it. And whatever it is. And I think let it come up bit by bit, because I really believe your body will tell you things when it's ready and when you're ready. And sometimes it can, things can come up that upset you. And that's what I'd say after a practice. If you feel like going having a good cry, punch a pillow, go with that rather than trying to push everything. It's fine. Just be aware, or you can tap and just say, I feel really upset. I don't even know why. And just the only thing I did want to say is you don't always have to know it. You really don't have to know. And another way that we can work is by getting the joy generators going in the body, the energies of joy, which are a very real system in the body that help to bridge us to the outside world, help to regulate. They keep you grounded, and there's a real power in that positivity if you've really got it, if you can really muster up that feeling on a daily basis. You can't, like, it's almost like, that expansive feeling when you fall in love or you get
I was thinking exactly that, where you are literally invincible. You don't get anyone's illness. You are just literally floating.
So that,
where do you find that feeling, Lianne? Where is the joy generator? I want to know right now.
Get it. I mean, there's lots of it. You can trace the strange flows every day. Happy feelings, laughing, doing what you love, bouncing, moving, stretching, all ways, those ways when you go, I feel much better for that. You've ignited your...
But is there any other stuff you could do, like any tapping places to access your joy generators?
Well,
where are they?
Raises your happiness levels. It switches them on.
Okay, so so you could tap up and say, I'm opening my joy generation.
Yeah,
I'm opening my joy generation.
And you know what? As you're doing it, just say, what is you at your happiest? What does it feel like? What's you at your most confident?
You can just ask those questions as you're tapping, and your body will come up with the answers.
No, but you bring that feeling into your body. So I'm asking you now for you to conjure up. Think of a time where...
I thought you were going to tell me my body was going to tell me that. I was thinking, wow, this is really...
You know what? practice it. Who knows?
Yeah,
Again,
okay. So I
it
think
could
of a
be a
time where
method.
I'm most happy, or when I'm
Yeah.
most kind
What,
of,
but like, what brings a smile to your face right now as you, what makes you want to take that deep in breath? What gives you that expansive feeling? You know, these are the energies of exhilaration, of orgasm, of that real passion for life. And they're in us, they're in our core, right deep in our core. And when they break through, they've got the power to break through
everything,
any old trauma.
everything.
Yeah. And there's a fine line between, oh, it's all fine, it's happy, clappy, positivity, and not really. So this is where your practice teaches you about yourself and lets you get honest. Because the more you have a practice and you get to know yourself, you know when you're fooling yourself, you know when something's really gone or it's wishful thinking. So
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I'd say the purpose of life is to get to know yourself. And I think the purpose of 2024 is really self-awareness.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
my
yeah.
feeling is. And because it's number 8 year, I've decided, because it's 2024, so it becomes 8, so it means authority
Oh,
in
okay.
numerology, so an experience, and the dragon brings in love and courage. So there's this kind of, I
Wow,
think we've just
okay.
been through, for me, the new year starts at Samhain, so the 1st of November. And there's just been this whole movement since then about
Mm,
clearing ancestral karmas from bloodlines and things like that. And I
mm,
feel that it's kind of, that work is still continuing, but it's allowing people to become lighter and lighter and work out who they truly are, not with the backdrop of their family karma, basically
right,
playing
okay.
out the
Yeah,
subconscious
yeah,
cycles, etc. So it's kind of
yeah.
like it's clearing up all this back brain stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's my feeling for
Yeah,
2024. Take it or leave it.
yeah. Wow.
Cool.
And somatics can help that, whatever you're shifting through. In fact, you have to do it with somatics. I mean, you can get there. You can get there with the mind only.
But you can't. All the things I work with, like all the ways I work, all the people I use on myself, is all about tapping into all parts of self,
Mm.
but kind
So
of,
you're working with somatics anyway.
yeah,
Yeah,
and didn't
yeah,
even know.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
just a
it's
nice
so
umbrella
important.
term because you know one time it's like people, what do you do? Well, this, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's somatics, it's embodiment practices that enable you to really get there quicker.
Yeah, perfect. Right. Well, do you want to tell us quickly about your sleep workshops?
That's
Because I guess
tomorrow. I
it's
think
not
I've
just,
only got one place left to look
no, but
at.
that won't
It is.
necessarily go out today. But
Oh
in
yeah,
you
yeah.
running them again in the future, what could people expect from those?
So I'm doing monthly classes actually at Unity. So tonight we're going to look at um, the stages of the day, which I have briefly talked about in another Wise Women.
Okay.
I can't remember the yin and the yang. I think it was that
Was
we
that based on
went
the
through that.
Chinese body clock and
Um,
where the elements are?
no, actually, it's more the 3 stages of the day, which is
Ooh,
a lot simpler,
Mother Maiden
very
Crone.
scientific. About
Or Maiden
yes,
Mother Crone.
yes, yeah,
3.
and that's what I love about this. The more you layer the wisdom of these systems, it's
Tricorn.
all there. It's all there.
3 is the magic number.
What the
3 is the magic number, the
oh
tricorn and all that kind of stuff. So
okay,
that's interesting.
yeah,
So, well, Lianne will put her details for anybody that's interested in any sleep workshops. If
yeah,
you send them to me, then we can put them on the
yeah.
bottom of this.
I
And
have
if you've got any questions about EFT, then get back to Lianne.
yeah, get back, and then we can put our links below if you want to contact us. Thank you for listening. Oh, please like and subscribe to the
Yeah,
channel.
like and subscribe. That would be
Follow us.
wonderful. Fantastic. And we'll be back with more somatic practices soon.
Thanks for joining.